Just shut up. Zip your mouth. Keep it quiet. In my experience as a pickleball coach, one of the most important things that we can do is we can know when to zip it. Becky gets out on the court and she's so stiff. She was so tense when she would hit the ball. So what does the coach do? They go over to Becky and they say, okay, Becky, try to have more of a follow through. Relax, Becky, relax. Now it's true that Becky didn't have much of a follow through. It wasn't a technical problem that she had, it was a psychological one. And so this coach, what they did by trying to solve the problem, actually made the problem worse. Had the coach just step back and let Becky kind of settle into this new environment, that this technical problem she had probably would have sorted itself out. Just shut up. Just shut up. Zip your mouth. Keep it quiet. This is advice that a lot of pickleball coaches would do really well to follow. And that's not because I don't want to hear what pickleball coaches have to say. I love hearing what pickleball coaches have to say. I love hearing what people who think they're pickleball coaches have to say too. That stuff's great. But in my experience as a pickleball coach, one of the most important things that we can do is we can know when to zip it. When to just close our mouths. Let me give you a good example. Not too long ago, I was out observing some pickleball coaches, and they had brand new players who came to their pickleball lesson. And this was like a sort of lower intermediate kind of lesson, like a 2.5, 3.0 situation. And these players didn't know each other. It was their first lesson, and they came out there, and there was this one player who I could tell was so nervous, and she was out there. Let's call her Becky. Becky gets out on the court, and she's so stiff. But that's true when she was dinking balls, or even from the back of the court when she was warming up her ground strokes. She was so stiff. She was so tense when she would hit the ball. And the coach on the court, they saw that too. So what does the coach do? They go over to Becky and they say, okay, Becky, try to have more of a follow through. Let your paddle go over your shoulder after you hit that forehand. Relax, Becky, relax. The coach saw the right thing. The coach saw that Becky was tense. But what the coach did is that they tried to interfere. They tried to jump on it. They tried to solve that problem immediately. Now, it's true that Becky didn't have much of a follow-through, but it wasn't really because Becky didn't know that she should have a follow-through when she hits her forehand. It wasn't a technical problem that she had, it was a psychological one. Becky was out here, she was so nervous. She didn't know anyone else here, she was here by herself, she didn't want to embarrass herself. And so what was happening psychologically for Becky? The tension that she was feeling because she was out here on the court, didn't want to embarrass herself, translated into something that was going on physically and technically. Of course, all of us, when we get tense, when we get nervous, right? The movements that we have become shorter, they become stiffer. And so this coach, what they did by jumping in there, by trying to address it right away, by trying to solve the problem, actually made the problem worse. Because Becky started to think, oh man, I'm here at the beginning of my lesson. The coach already knows my name because I'm the problem. And so what happened is that this stress that Becky was feeling became compounded. She got more tense rather than less tense. The follow-through got shorter rather than longer. She smiled less rather than smiling more. And so this was a really good opportunity for the coach to actually say nothing. To realize that Becky, what she was going through, didn't need to be fixed by doing more. It actually needed to be fixed by doing less. And I suspect, had the coach just stepped back and let Becky kind of settle into this new environment, to relax a little bit, to realize it wasn't so scary, that this technical problem she had probably would have sorted itself out. Because after all, as the lesson went on, Becky got more comfortable with the people, Becky got more comfortable with the coach. Well, all of a sudden, look at that follow-through starts to get a little bit longer. Muscles start to relax a little bit. And it wasn't that she changed fundamentally as a pickleball player. It's just psychologically she changed, right? She relaxed a little bit so that her body could work the way that it typically works. And so this is true about pickleball coaches in general. is that when we're out there on the court, when we're out there seeing things going on, we don't have to jump on them right away. Doesn't mean that you don't see them, doesn't mean you don't make a note of them, doesn't mean you don't recognize that later, hey, that we're going to have to address this. But sometimes it just makes sense to shut up. Just keep quiet. Create the conditions where that player can relax a little bit, in the case of Becky. Maybe if you do have to say something, you go over and you say something completely unexpected, right? Hey, Becky, what do you have for breakfast today? Becky certainly wasn't expecting that kind of a question, right? And that kind of disarming question can be a good way to allow someone to kind of relax and settle in. Or you tell her a joke. I got a joke for you, Becky. What do you call a fish with no eyes? My name is Mark Renneson. This is the Pickleball Coaches podcast. I'm really glad you're with us. We're going to come back and talk more about pickleball, pickleball coaching, and how to help the Beckys of the world in just a minute.
Hey, have you heard of the new Play More app?
No, what is it?
Basically, the Play More app is like a stress-free scheduling app for pickleballers. So I don't know, we've struggled a lot in group text trying to organize play. You'll set it up and somebody will just like the text. And I'm like, does that actually mean you're coming or not?
Yeah, and it's like, you never know how many people you have, like what rating they are. It's kind of annoying.
It can kind of just be a nightmare to try to organize groups because group texts are just not fun. So basically the Play More app lets you send out invitations. You get an RSVP list. If somebody doesn't show, there's a wait list that will actually like put somebody right into.
No way.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Dang, that's awesome. What's it called?
It's called the Play More app. So you should download it at the App Store, or you can go to getplaymore.com if you want to look at it online.
Welcome back to Pickleball Coaches Podcast. This is the podcast for pickleball coaches. There are lots of podcasts out there. I love listening to these podcasts that are about pickleball, that talk about technique and tactics. They talk about what's going on in the pro pickleball world, all the gossip, the juice that's out there. They talk about tournaments, people review paddles, all that stuff. That is great content. But what I'm really interested in is I'm interested in coaches and how pickleball coaches are contributing to the development of pickleball overall. I started Pickleball Coaching International many years ago. And what we do at PCI, Pickleball Coaching International, is we work with instructors. And sometimes we just work with them to do professional development or ongoing training. We give them tips, we give them ideas, we produce video content and audio content. But one of the other things that we do is we do instructor certification. If you go over to PCIpickleball.com, you can check that out. So I want to talk about pickleball coaching, and there hasn't been a whole lot of podcasting going on out there when it comes to that. So that is what the Pickleball Coaches podcast is for, is we're going to talk all things pickleball coaching. This is the part of Pickleball Coaches podcast where we answer your questions. You email them into us, info@pickleballcoachinginternational.com, or you send them out to us through our social media, or you send me a voice note, whatever it is. You've got a pickleball coaching question. I'm going to try to answer it. So our first question looks like it comes from Sally Benedict in Vero Beach, Florida. Sally says, hey, Mark, I want to coach on a cruise ship or even at a resort. How do I do that? Okay, great question, Sally. So there's a few different options here. First off, as you go to more and more resorts, as you go on more and more cruise ships, you will see that they have pickleball in many cases. And sometimes they're dedicated courts, but sometimes they're shared courts with other sports or other surfaces. I remember we did something with Selkirk. We did a cruise from Miami to Bahamas, and it was part of a Dude Perfect. It was the internet guys, for those who don't know, who do all sorts of cool trick shots and everything. And they had a whole cruise, and they had a whole pickleball set up there. I've been to Turks and Caicos working at a Club Med while a group from South Carolina went on their vacations. It was amazing. It's a really great opportunity. So there's a few ways to do this. One is to, if you connect with the people or a group that happen to be going there anyway. So just like these South Carolina people, they said, hey, Mark, would you come with us to go on this trip? That sounds great. Or when Selkirk says, hey, we need someone who can do the pickleball on this Dude Perfect cruise. Could you do that? That's great. So sometimes you can work with the group directly. You can find a group that's going, or you can advertise your services and they can connect with you. And that's one way to do it. Another way is through some third-party organization, a company that connects coaches with facilities that are looking for coaches. So I remember many years ago, I did a trip to Cuba, actually, and it was through one of these third parties, and the deal was you're going to be there to teach tennis for 3 hours a day, and in exchange, you and the guests get to come, and you get to eat all the food and drink all the drinks and stay in our hotel. And so these third-party companies, there's more and more of them because they realize there's some money to be made. In some cases, you provide a fee, to access their service, or when you do go on that trip, they get a fee for that. So you can do a quick Google search and find out those, call it like a working pickleball vacation or something like that. I think that'd be a good Google search. But it can be a really fun way to do some coaching and to get to see some new places, and to do it really on the cheap. You very often won't get paid to do this. It's kind of like a quid pro quo situation where you go and in exchange for housing and food and all that, you get to go. But it can be a really great way to do a little work, get involved with pickleball, see some new places, have a great time without spending a whole lot of money. All right, our next question comes from Gary Stevenson in Indianapolis, Indiana. Gary says, when I'm teaching a group lesson, should I just make the plan or should I ask everyone what they want to work on? So Gary, this is a very good question. And it's one of the, first of all, I want to applaud you for thinking about, hey, how do I make sure that my students, that my players are getting what it is that they want out of this lesson? I think that's really important. It's good that you have that impulse. We want it to be a sort of student-centered experience, right? Now, if you were teaching a private lesson and you had 1, 2, or even 3 players, you probably have the time to go to them and to say, hey, player number 1, if you could wave a magic wand and you wanted to be better at something, what would that something be? And they could tell you. And then you say, hey, player 2, if you could wave your magic wand, what would you want to be better at? And then player 3. And you could probably do that pretty quickly, pretty efficiently. And, if you're a skilled coach, you can take these 3 or 4 disparate things and say, okay, yeah, got it. All right, I know how to make a lesson plan out of this. So that's an option, especially in a smaller group. But if you're talking about a bigger group, maybe you've got not 4 people or 3 people, but you've got 8 people or 12 people, you simply don't have the time to ask everybody in the moment what it is that they want to work on. I remember once, years ago, I was coaching at an event. I won't say its name. It was a big event. There were lots of different coaches. And the way it would work is these groups of, I think 8 people it was, they would move from sort of section of the facility to section of the facility to section of the facility, and then work with the different coaches that were there, right? It was a nice little experience for them to get a flavor of different instructors. And this one particular coach, I'm not sure how much she's coaching anymore, but she was a very well-known senior player, and she was so nice, very kind. And I watched her as the group of 8 came to her. And these rotations, mind you, were like 40 minutes long max, and then they'd go to the next group. And this very nice woman would say to the group, okay, what would you like to work on? And she'd go to player number 1. And player number 1 would start to explain, well, I really like to work on my backhand. So, okay, well, which backhand are we talking about? Oh, that's a good question. Well, sometimes my backhand drives, they're very weak, and my backhand drop is kind of inconsistent, and my backhand volleys, they're not too bad. Backhand overheads, like, forget it, I can't do those. And they're having this whole dialogue, which on its own in isolation was just fine. But there were 7 other people that she proceeded to have the dialogue with. And so by the time she spent 3 minutes with each person, she'd now used up 24 out of the 40 minutes with those players. And you can see how that doesn't make sense. So it's coming from the right place, right? You want to give your players what it is that they want to work on. But it's impractical to do it when you have a larger group situation. Okay, so what do you do? Well, 2 options. One option is that you ask those questions, but you ask them in advance. So maybe you know who your group is, maybe you have that contact information, maybe you can send them out like a little survey or an email and say, hey, I'd love to know if there's anything in particular you want to work on. And in advance, you can compile all those answers and try to make your lesson plan for 8 people. Good luck, because there's definitely going to be people who said, well, I told coach I wanted to work on when to Ernie, but in our lesson today, we didn't work on when to Ernie, right? So now I kind of feel disrespected. So that's one of the traps of doing this. The other option, which I think makes more sense, is that you set the agenda. You're the coach, right? You're in charge, you're organizing it. And I would think that in advance, you let people know what it is we're working on. And maybe that's how you advertise it. Maybe you say, hey, today's session is all about offense. And the theme that we're working on this week is going to be, how do we finish points? How do we create opportunities and finish points? All about offense. And we're going to talk about that in a serving context, in a returning context, a third shot, and up at the net, right? And so if your people are already signed up and it's regular, you just say, hey, this is what we're working on this week, just so you know, right? Or alternatively, if you're trying to attract people and get them to sign up, you put that theme out there and say, hey, would you like to be better at winning more points? Come out to our session that's all about offense. So I do think in these larger group settings, you really have to take the lead as the coach. you can still talk to your people in here, and if there's a little comment or question during a water break, then address it as well as you can. But it's impractical to try to give everybody exactly what they want in a group setting like that. All right, our next question comes from Sonia W. in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Shout out Canada. And Sonia says, I'm a pickleball coach and I'm considering investing in a ball machine. Is this a good idea? Okay, great question, Sonia. I actually get this quite a lot from people who are pickleball coaches who are wondering about ball machines. And sometimes there's clubs that are wondering, should they invest in ball machines? I was not too long ago in Florida. I was in Boca Raton, Florida, and I was amazed. I was out at the pickleball courts playing with some friends, and I was amazed at how many sort of private individuals I saw walk up with their own ball machines just to kind of like do some training on their own. So there's definitely an interest in that from people. So here's what I would say about ball machines. A ball machine is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used well or used poorly, right? So it depends what you want. Ball machines are really good if you're looking to repeat the same thing again and again and again and again. So let's say, for example, that you really want to develop a great backhand roll, right? You want to be able to receive that ball just as it's coming below the net, and you want to be able to use your hand and your wrist to accelerate up and to create that top spin, right? And that's a new sensation for you. You got to get used to doing that. Well, this could be a good use for the ball machine, because the ball machine can put the ball pretty much in that same spot again and again and again and again. And then you can go in and you can get the reps on that, right? Don't do too many, you're going to injure yourself, but you get the idea. So ball machines are really great for that. Or let's say that you're trying to receive a ball in a cross court, right? Like receive a ball that's hit pretty fast, cross court to you, and you want to change the direction and go down the line. And you just need to get used to kind of the sensation of accelerating through to change that direction. It could be useful for that. But here's the thing about pickleball and ball machines, is pickleball is not mainly a game about hitting. Of course, it involves hitting, of course. But pickleball is mainly a game about moving, about chasing the ball. It's about adapting. It's about making decisions. And when you're doing something with a ball machine where you're just doing the thing again and again and again and again to get those reps in, you're kind of removing those important elements. You know where the ball is going, typically, right? You're doing the same thing on repeat. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to make decisions. So again, I'm not saying a ball machine is a bad idea, Sonia, but I am saying that you need to think about how you're going to use this tool. Because I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen players go out and they work with a coach who feeds them balls to the same spot again and again and again, kind of like a ball machine. Or players who go out and use a ball machine and they're hitting their third shot drops perfect. They're nailing them. And then as soon as they go into a real game situation, everything kind of falls apart, right? And that's because we've completely removed those key elements of pickleball. We've removed having to chase the ball and to set up for it. We've removed the decision-making aspect. Okay, so a ball machine can be a really useful tool, but realize it's just sort of one part of an overall training program. All right, we're getting near the end of the show, and this is when we like to give you one quick tip, a quick coaching tip that will make your life easier on the court. And today's quick tip is, if you're going to change something, show it. Look, I bet all of you out there, you go do a whole bunch of pickleball drills with your players. And if you're a good coach, and I know you are, then you know that sometimes you're going to adapt those drills. Maybe you're going to make the targets smaller. Maybe you're going to make the targets bigger. Maybe you're going to add some scoring or change a scoring element. Maybe you're going to add some pressure in some way, right? Maybe you're going to add some kind of nuance. Anytime you're changing something, you should demonstrate it for your players. So for example, let's say that I'm working on hitting low third shots over the net, whether they're drops or drives, and I give my players a 1.5 paddle height window over the net, right? I should show them that window. I should hit the balls. I should demonstrate it. That's why your playing skills are important, right? Because then you can demonstrate for them what you want them to do. And then you do that drill, right? And then you make the target smaller. Hey guys, it's no longer 1.5 paddle heights, it's now 1. Guess what? You should show them what it looks like for that ball to go through that 1 paddle height window. And as the drill evolves and you say, hey, guess what? We're going to add some scoring here. If it's through that initial window, the 1.5 paddle height, you're going to get a point. And if it's through that really low window, you're going to get 3 points. Hey, let me show you what that looks like, and then you get someone to demonstrate with you, and you hit the balls, and you put it through the window, and you identify the number of points. My point is, anytime you change something within your drills, within your activities, within your modified games, you as the coach should demonstrate it. Show your players what you want it to be. Does it take a little bit of time? Yes. But if you can be quick and concise when you do this, it's going to save you so much more time down the road because all your players are going to understand exactly what it is you want. All right, thanks for joining us for this episode of Pickleball Coaches Podcast. I'd love to know what you think about the show. Why not send me an email, info@pickleballcoachinginternational.com. That's info@pickleballcoachinginternational.com. If you've got a question you'd like me to address on the show, email it to me right there, or better yet, send it as a voice note. Open up the voice note app on your phone. Tell me what your question is. Explain your coaching problem. I'd love to address it here on the show. Send it to me, info@pickleballcoachinginternational.com. If you are a pickleball coach or you want to get started, if you like what we're doing at PCI, head over to pcipickleball.com. You can check out all of our resources for coaches. You can check out our instructor certification program, which is cool because all the training is online. You can find all that at pcipickleball.com. And of course, you can find all your very favorite pickleball content, coaching and otherwise, on Selkirk TV. So be sure to download Selkirk TV wherever you get your favorite apps. And until next time, I'm Mark Renneson. Thanks for being with us.